My name's Evan. I'm 31, and until a few months ago, I thought my relationship with my older brother, Marcus, was just strained, not irreparably broken. We were never close growing up. He was always the golden child, charming, athletic, got straight A's without trying. I was quieter, more introverted, the computer kid who preferred tinkering with code over playing backyard football. Still, I figured we'd grow out of the sibling rivalry. Maybe even become real friends once we both hit adulthood. That never happened. If anything, it got worse. Marcus graduated with honors, landed a cushy finance job thanks to one of Dad's friends, and started dating Amelia, his college sweetheart who came from a family of surgeons and CEOs. I took a different path, dropped out of college to build my own tech startup with two high school friends. We bootstrapped for years, lived on ramen and late nights, and got laughed at more times than I could count. But last year, our company finally hit. We signed a major licensing deal with a healthcare tech firm, scaled fast, and suddenly, I wasn't that weird IT dropout anymore. I became a CEO. We're not a household name, but in our industry, people know who we are. Still, I never flaunted it, especially not to Marcus. I figured he didn't care, or worse, would just find a way to downplay it, like always. A few weeks ago, Marcus texted me about his housewarming. Or rather, he didn't invite me. He said it was going to be a classy event for Amelia's family and friends, people who were established professionals, and that it might be awkward having me there because, in his words, I know you're still figuring your stuff out. I stared at the message for a long time. No, hope you're doing well. No, maybe next time. Just a blunt little rejection from my own brother, like I was some embarrassing side character in his success story. What he didn't know, what no one in our family really knew, is that one of Amelia's uncles is the COO of the company we signed the deal with. I'd met him over Zoom during contract negotiations. Nice guy. Sharp. Very by the book. We didn't talk much outside of business, and I never connected the dots between him and Amelia until now. But once I saw her full name again in Marcus's text, it clicked. I could have said something. Could have used it as leverage or a jab. Instead, I just replied, got it. Hope the party goes well. And I meant it, kind of. I didn't want to go anymore. But then my parents started poking. My mom called and said, it's just a formality, Evan, don't take it personally. As if it was normal for your own brother to exclude you from his life. My dad chimed in too, saying Marcus was just trying to impress Amelia's family, and maybe I'd understand when I finally settled down. That one stung. I've always been the single one, sure, but not by choice. I've just been busy building something. Something real. Something they never took the time to ask about. I was going to let it go. Really, I was. But then, 2 nights before the party, I got a call from my cousin Derek. He said, hey man, are you really not coming to the housewarming? I told him the truth, that Marcus didn't want me there. Derek hesitated, then added, that's messed up, especially with the stuff they've been saying. I asked what he meant, and he reluctantly shared that at a recent dinner, Marcus and Amelia joked that I was the black sheep who thought he could run a company from a garage, and her brother laughed. Some people just never grow up. My mom laughed too, apparently. My own mom. That was it. Something in me cracked. Not out of rage. More like disappointment. A hollow kind that sits deep. I wasn't going to crash the party, but I decided I'd show up for 5 minutes, give them a polite hello, and leave. Just to remind them I existed. So I put on a clean shirt, drove across town, and arrived right when the party was already full. Their new house was exactly what I expected, modern, spotless, magazine perfect. Music playing, glasses clinking, everyone dressed like they'd just stepped out of a real estate commercial. I walked in through the side gate, and Marcus's face fell the moment he saw me. He came over, fake smile plastered on, and said, Evan? Hey, I didn't think you were coming. I smiled back and said, just thought I'd stop by. Say hi. Before he could respond, Amelia showed up behind him. Her eyes scanned me like I was a waiter who'd wandered into the wrong backyard. Oh, hi, she said flatly. Nice of you to show up. The next 10 minutes were a masterclass in polite disdain. I got introduced to 2 of Amelia's aunts as Marcus's brother. He's in tech, or something, and then quickly shuffled aside so they could talk to a plastic surgeon from Boston. People kept asking me where I worked, and when I explained that I ran my own company, someone quipped, oh, like a startup, and chuckled like I'd said I sold candles on Etsy. Even Marcus's tone was different, like he was embarrassed for me. At one point, someone handed me a plate and pushed me toward the food table. I stood there, holding it, while a cluster of Amelia's cousins stood a few feet away, clearly whispering. One of them laughed and said just loud enough, "He looks like he walked here." Another added, "Isn't he the one who never finished college?" I didn't react. I just sipped my drink and reminded myself I wasn't here to prove anything. And then came the video call. Apparently, Amelia's dad couldn't attend in person, so they were FaceTiming him in to do a virtual toast. Marcus connected the call, put it on speaker, and propped the phone up on a little stand in the middle of the patio table. Everyone gathered around, holding up their drinks. Her dad appeared on the screen, gray hair, confident smile, clearly in good spirits. To Marcus and Amelia, he said, "You two are building something great. I'm so proud of you both." There were cheers and laughter. Then, as the screen panned to capture more of the party, his face changed. He squinted, leaned in, then pointed directly at the phone's camera. "Hold on, is that Evan? Evan Carter?" The crowd quieted. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, it's me." A beat passed. Then he let out a surprised laugh. "What are you doing there? Wait, why didn't anyone tell me you two were brothers?" The silence grew thick. Amelia looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Marcus froze. Her dad continued, smiling big now. "This man right here, Evan, he's the reason I have my job. His company is why my entire division exists. I tell everyone at work about him. Evan, buddy, you changed the game." You could hear a pin drop. He went on for a minute, talking about how revolutionary the software was, how the rollout saved their department, how people at the company still talk about our meetings. I nodded politely, thanked him, and finally, gently interrupted, "I appreciate that. Really? But I should get going." I set down my drink, handed my untouched plate to the stunned cousin nearest me, and walked out the gate without another word. I didn't need to hear the rest. Let them process it however they wanted. I drove home with the windows down, the night air cool against my face, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to prove anything. The next morning, my phone lit up with more notifications than I'd seen in months. Missed calls, voicemails, texts from numbers I didn't even have saved. I didn't answer any of them. I just let them stack up like unread receipts from a night I never planned to remember. The first one I opened, though, was from my mom. It simply said, "Call me now." That was it. No, "Are you okay?" No, "We're sorry." Just an order. Like always. I ignored it. Then came one from Marcus. "You could have said something." And then a follow-up. "Do you have any idea how that made us look?" How that made them look. That one actually made me laugh out loud. For years, I'd lived in the shadow of Marcus's curated image, the successful older brother, the future family patriarch, the golden boy. And now, in 10 accidental seconds on a phone screen, that illusion cracked. Not because I did anything, but because the truth slipped out, and there was no dressing it back up in a blazer and tie. By noon, Amelia texted. I didn't even know she had my number. Her message was longer. "Hey Evan, I'm really sorry about last night. I didn't realize how accomplished you were. I think some people at the party might have misunderstood your situation. You should have said something sooner. I'd love to talk, maybe grab coffee and clear the air." Clear the air. Like I'd walked in and farted instead of them spending the whole evening pretending I was beneath them. That night, I went out for a solo dinner at my favorite little Korean barbecue place. I'd been there dozens of times, alone, mostly, just to escape. The owner knew me by name, brought me my usual without even asking. As I sat there flipping meat on the grill, watching the sizzle rise, I realized something. I wasn't angry. Not in the way I used to be. Not even sad. I just felt done. Done being the quiet one. The afterthought. The lesser sibling who got humored at holidays and excluded from real family moments. But being done didn't mean disappearing. So the next day, I did what I should have done years ago. I sent out one text. To the family group chat. "Hey, just so there's no confusion, yes, I run a company. Yes, we're doing well. No, I don't owe anyone an explanation for how I got here. But since my presence at family events seems to be an occasional inconvenience, I'll make it easy. I'm stepping away from all gatherings for a while. I've spent years being spoken about like I wasn't in the room. But I am in the room now, and I've built the building. So feel free to carry on. Just without me. Delivered. Read. Silence. An hour later, my cousin Derek replied, "Respect." Then my aunt, Dad's sister, texted me privately. Said she'd watched what happened at the party over Amelia's dad's FaceTime. "The look on your mom's face," she wrote. She turned ghost white. Like she'd seen a spirit crawl out of her own reflection. But the real kicker came 2 days later. I got an email from Amelia's father. A professional one, sent to my work address. He wrote, "Evan, I owe you an apology. I had no idea you were part of that family. No one mentioned it. I can't believe the way they treated you. I always say we should never judge someone by their resume, but by their results, and you've built something remarkable. If you're ever open to collaborating again, on a bigger scale this time, I'd love to schedule a meeting. No pressure, just admiration." I stared at the screen for a long time, not because I needed validation, but because, somehow, that one sentence from someone outside the family, "I can't believe the way they treated you," hit deeper than any apology from my family ever could. And then came the fallout. My mom showed up at my apartment. Not called, not texted, just knocked. When I opened the door, she was standing there in her nicest coat, holding a grocery bag like it was some kind of peace offering. "I brought your favorite, those sesame cookies," she said with a half smile. I didn't invite her in. She stood awkwardly in the hallway, rocking on her heels. "Evan, we didn't know. You never told us how big your company got." I looked her in the eyes and said, "Would it have mattered?" She blinked. "Of course it would have." I nodded slowly. "Exactly." She opened her mouth to respond, then shut it again. Her eyes shifted. "Marcus feels awful. He didn't mean to exclude you." "That's funny," I said, because I read the message. It wasn't a misunderstanding. He said it clearly. There was a pause. A long one. Then she whispered, "It's just hard sometimes, feeling like I don't know how to connect with you." That one stung. Not because it was cruel, but because it was cowardly. "You could have tried," I said quietly. Instead of laughing when they mocked me. Instead of pretending I wasn't there. She looked down. I could see her lip quiver. But I didn't move. I didn't open the door wider. I didn't hug her. I just stood there tired, but calm. "I'm not cutting you out," I said finally. "But I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm not chasing approval. If you want me in your life, it has to be as an equal, not the punchline." She nodded, blinking fast. "I understand." I don't think she did. But she left the cookies anyway. And for the first time in years, I didn't eat them. The next family event was a month later, Dad's birthday dinner. I didn't go. Marcus sent a group selfie from the table. Everyone smiling, plates full, candles glowing. I ignored it. A few minutes later, he sent a private message. "Dad misses you. Come by this weekend?" I haven't replied yet. Because for once, they're reaching out. And I'm deciding whether they've earned a reply. I ended up going. Not out of guilt. Not because I missed them. I went because I wanted to look my father in the eye, one last time, and see if he even saw me. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. No birthday balloons, no extended family, just my parents, Marcus, and Amelia. I wore a navy blazer, not because I wanted to impress them, but because I knew they'd expect me to come casual, as if my life was still some thrown-together garage project. It was petty, sure, but I wanted them to feel the difference before I even spoke. Marcus opened the door. "Hey," he said, trying to sound casual, like we hadn't gone radio silent for weeks. "Glad you made it." "Sure," I replied flatly, brushing past him. Inside, Dad was sitting in his usual chair by the fireplace, sipping something dark from a heavy tumbler. He looked older than I remembered, tired, as if some of the shine he used to wear like armor had dulled. He stood when he saw me. "Evan," he said, nodding slowly. "Good to see you, son." I nodded back. "You too." Amelia gave a small wave from the kitchen, where she was plating a store-bought cake. No one spoke about the party. No one brought up what had happened. It was like we were pretending nothing had changed, only everything had. We sat around the dining table, and the meal was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that isn't peaceful, just loaded. Every clink of a fork sounded louder than it should. Every breath felt like it came with strings attached. It was only when the plates were cleared and the cake was sliced that Dad finally spoke up. "I heard you've done well for yourself." I looked at him. "You could have asked sooner." He nodded, slowly. "Maybe I should have. I guess I didn't realize," he trailed off. I waited. "I always thought Marcus had the clearer path," he said finally. "He did things the way I understood. College, job, stability. You went your own way, and I didn't know what to do with that. So you ignored it," I said, voice steady. "You dismissed it. And me." He looked me in the eye, and for a moment, I thought I saw something real. Regret, maybe. Or at least recognition. "You're right," he said. "And I'm sorry. That should have been enough. That could have been enough." But Marcus couldn't leave it alone. "You know," he said, leaning back in his chair, "I still think you overreacted about the party. It wasn't personal. Amelia's family just didn't know who you were. I blinked slowly. Because you made sure they didn't. He shrugged. I didn't think it mattered. No, you didn't think I mattered. Marcus leaned forward, suddenly defensive. Evan, come on. It's not like I lied about you. I just didn't make a big deal out of it. You made a point to keep me small, I snapped. You've always done that. You act like I'm some embarrassing experiment that worked out by accident. Amelia cut in, her voice quiet but sharp. Let's not turn this into a fight. I turned to her. You mocked me. To your family. Behind my back. She froze. I heard what you said. About how I never made it. About how I was a dropout. About how you were too accomplished to be around me. Her face flushed. I didn't mean it like that. But you said it. And Marcus let you. Everyone was still. I turned back to Dad. You want to know why I stopped coming around? Why I'm not at birthdays or holidays? It's not because I'm busy. It's not because I'm bitter. It's because you all made it clear I was only welcome if I played my part. The underachiever. The weird one. The one you laugh about after dinner when you think I'm not listening. No one moved. I stood up. You wanted me here? Now I've come. But this is the last time I walk into a room just to make you feel better about ignoring me. And I reached into my coat pocket and set down a white envelope. What's this? Dad asked. My company's annual gala is next month. We're hosting it at the Skyline Towers downtown. That's a VIP invite. You can come see for yourself what I've built. Or you can throw it out and go back to pretending. I turned, walked to the door. No one said a word. As I stepped out into the crisp air, I finally exhaled. Not out of relief, but closure. The next day, my assistant called. You're not gonna believe this, she said. We just got a confirmation RSVP. From who? Your father. +3. The night of the gala arrived like a storm front, quiet anticipation giving way to flashes of drama and long overdue reckoning. I arrived early, dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, subtle but sharp. No name tag. No introduction needed. This was my world. The event space at Skyline Towers was all polished glass and sweeping views of the city, with soft jazz playing over warm lighting. Investors, partners, and industry leaders mingled with glasses of champagne and practiced ease. I was in my element. I'd instructed the staff to treat my family like any other guests, no special fanfare, no extra attention. Let the setting speak for itself. When they arrived, the room changed. I saw them enter from across the hall, my father in a stiff black suit, my mother clinging to his arm, Marcus and Amelia just behind, both dressed like they were attending an awards show. They stood awkwardly near the registration desk until one of the assistants checked their names and gave them their access badges, VIP, same as the rest. I watched them look around, trying to make sense of it all. Then the signage caught their eye. My name, Evan Carter, printed large across the digital displays above the stage. Beneath it, founder and CEO of Nexus Systems. Amelia's jaw actually dropped. They didn't realize, not fully, that this was me. That I wasn't just doing okay. That I owned the space they were standing in. That the servers brushing past them, the musicians playing live, the curated lighting, the software demonstrations and the breakout booths, all of it was my creation. I let them wander. They saw colleagues shaking my hand, laughing with me, congratulating me on our newest product launch. They watched a former Stanford professor approach me and say, "Your keynote last month was one of the best I've ever seen." They saw me smile and say, "Thanks, document. Still remember your class on scalability." And then the moment came. I took the stage. The room dimmed, and a hush fell. I didn't look at my family as I spoke, but I knew exactly where they stood, near the back, blending into the shadows, trying to make themselves small. 5 years ago, I began. This company was 3 people in a 1-bedroom apartment, eating instant noodles and fighting to make rent. No investors. No safety net. Just an idea and the will to make it real. I let that land. There were people who told us it wouldn't work, that we were wasting time, that we weren't cut out for success. But I've learned something. What others call unrealistic is often just unfamiliar to them. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It means they can't see what you see. I paused, looked out at the sea of faces. And for the first time, I did look at my family. They were still. And tonight, I continued, I want to say thank you. To the people who did believe. To those who backed us when we were nothing. Because now, we are something. The crowd erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. People stood. I stepped off stage to a line of well-wishers, friends, and admirers. My family didn't approach at first. They lingered, unsure. Eventually, Dad made the first move. He walked up, slowly, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Evan," he said, voice low. That was impressive. Thanks, I replied. I didn't smile. I didn't realize, he said, glancing around the room, what you've built. I know, I said simply. He swallowed. I'm sorry. Behind him, Mom blinked rapidly. We didn't mean to make you feel like you didn't matter, she said, voice tight. But you did, I said. For years. She flinched. Marcus stepped forward. I was wrong, he said. About everything. I was just jealous, I guess. I did things the right way, and still. I'm not where you are. I raised an eyebrow. You're not supposed to be where I am. This was never a race. He looked down. I made it one. Amelia said nothing. Just stood beside him, frozen. I nodded slowly. Here's the thing. I'm not angry anymore. But I'm not going to pretend none of it happened. So what now? Mom asked quietly. Do we just go our separate ways? I looked at her. That's up to you. I'm open to starting over, but this time, on equal footing. No jabs. No backhanded compliments. No being the lesser son. I'm done playing that role. They nodded. Even Marcus. We didn't hug. Not that night. But they left early, quieter than when they came, and I watched them walk out the glass doors into the cold night. No dramatic blow-up. No shouting. Just a slow realization that the person they thought would never amount to anything had quietly become someone they'd never understand. A few weeks later, my mom texted. Just a photo. It was the old family photo from 10 years ago, the one where Marcus stood center and I was shoved to the side, barely in frame. Only this time, she cropped it differently. Centered me. Captioned, thinking about how proud I am. It wasn't everything, but it was something. And that's how it ends. I didn't get revenge in the way people expect. I didn't ruin anyone. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just succeeded loudly enough that silence wasn't an option anymore. And sometimes, that's the best revenge there is.